How's it going, everyone? And welcome to Animal Talk Podcast with me, your host, Ryan Ferguson.
And me, your co-host, Aiton King.
Hi, Aiton. How's it going?
Hey, Ryan. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, and I cannot believe that we're already in our third episode where we're hosting this. And I'm super excited because we actually have our very first guest that we're going to be interviewing together. Who's our guest, Aiton?
Da-da-da-da! I'm so excited for this one. And I'm thinking that's probably already giving our listeners some clues as to who our guest is. But our guest today is someone that I am really so inspired by. I've been inspired by her since I met her. And not only is she a renowned animal behaviorist and animal communicator, but she is also an incredible mentor and also an author. Today we are chatting to Gabby Harris.
It's an absolute honor to be with you guys again. Yeah, to be inspired by the two of you, as you always do.
Yay. Thanks, Gabby. Thanks for joining us. It's so nice to have you here.
Yeah. Cool.
Alrighty. So today we're going to be talking about control and choice.
My favorite topics.
Definitely. And I think it's a great one to bring up because especially in the animal care industry, it's something that is becoming more relevant and more talked about and more, brought into the daily care of our animals, which is very, very important. So I'm glad we've chosen this topic, and I'm sure have chosen the perfect person to talk about it with as well.
Newer trainers have probably got more to know about this because they've been brought into it. I mean, as Ryan, and when we were speaking earlier, when you said that when we started in this industry, the concepts were not even discussed. So, yeah, I think that there's many people with great ideas now.
Yeah, and it's an ever changing, it's evolutionary all the time. So things are always coming up, new ideas, new experiences. It's really good that it keeps changing, which is great.
Yeah, being progressive.
Yeah, I think it's so important also that it shows that in the industry we are learning all the time and we are making adjustments based on, what our animals are telling us and what they need, which is amazing.
Absolutely. You know what I find really curious is that with historically perhaps, or even people that have pets at home or children at home, we don't always consider, mental health is definitely a thing now in our society. People acknowledge it.
Right. Yeah.
And there's been, like with keepers in the past, in my mind, a keeper is actually, they've got such an important responsibility because they are essentially looking after the mental health of the animals.
Yes.
It's a holistic picture, like if your mental health is suffering, then everything else can suffer, your body, etc. It's all tied together.
I think also from the outside, often, when I get to chat with visitors, they often just think that, in our roles, we just there to check on the animals in the morning and then provide them with some food and water. And then that's kind of, all we do. But there's so much more than just that.
Yeah, absolutely. I just actually attended a conference about the emotional part of animals earlier in the year. And it was so cool, first of all, that there was a whole research conference that was dedicated to that. And noticing that animals are like emotional beings.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, and the fact that the industry is here, whereas before everything was just about the animal must obey, or we were so caught up in what we wanted, we weren't noticing that the animal had a voice. So that we're here now is just so remarkably amazing.
Yeah, it's always amazing to hear that, because I remember when I started out, like we discussed before, it was always about making sure that the animal was on stage, on time, it must be done, it must happen at this time, that time, and there was no choice or anything for the animal to decide, maybe I'm not really keen on that, and changing it up and like giving those animals the choice and control really made a difference in their behaviors at a later stage. We had less flyaways, things like that. So that was really, really cool to see.
So cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I remember someone presenting somewhere on the fact that you needed to look at the animals and see what they wanted. And that was like a novel concept. Like, what? And I think that if you look back and all the people that we respect in the industry, you'll almost see that they intuitively have always seen the animal and noticed the animal and worked with the animal. The concepts that we're exploring now, like control and choice, were almost intrinsic to them.
Yeah.
Whereas now, okay, it's out there and we need to look at it and teach people about it. But it's not to say that the animal trainers have always been bad. The good ones, I think, have always done this anyway. And another thought is the fact that if you take a dog and put it on a couch and give it a remote control, which is always my analogy, that animal can only trust you when it's on the couch. It can't trust you in a novel environment.
Right.
So the more we work with the animals and provide novel stimuli and interesting experiences, just like with people, the people that you have had the most experiences with are the ones you trust the most. So it's just like just noticing that these creatures are sentient. It's just so friggin' exciting. We can finally be Dr. Dolittle.
Yeah, it definitely built trust better by giving the animal choice. Definitely the trust account built so much better, and there was so much better behavior if you had to take anything out of that account, like do something potentially negative that was unavoidable or moving around or something like that, because you had built such a strong connection and bond with allowing the animal to take or have that choice, it just changed my outlook on training.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah, I remember Steve Martin's work. I mean, I know that you did a lot of work with him, Ryan.
Yes.
And him demonstrating that the animal can show you it once the gate's open. You know, I love that video that he explored.
Yeah, just letting them, choose if they want to have the gate closed or open. And when they've experienced that, they can choose now to just sit there and wait for a reinforcer and allow you to close that. And as soon as they turn and look at the gate opens for them. It's so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's choice and control. And I think it's really important that we don't put the two together, because I think it's, and we're talking training now, but it's also in their habitat, say, like in their lives. I mean, when the dog scratches on the door, do you shout at the door? Do you open the door?
Exactly.
When the dog barks because someone's going past, are you shouting at them, or are you going to see what they're barking at? It's that whole thing of like, just respect the fact that they've got some sass,
Yeah, they're communicating with us.
Yeah.
That's all. The whole deal is, are we listening? Hey.
Well, on that, Gabby, can you maybe share the story that I know you've shared with me, but maybe you can share with our listeners about one training session in particular that you had with a dolphin that was really special?
So that was Frodo. So who is still with us. She's been with us since 1979. So she's an old lady.
That's amazing.
We've matured together, I think. So Frodo had lots of babies, and then obviously she came of age where she wasn't going to be breeding anymore. So she'd always been busy being a mum, and now she was in retirement. And without something to do, it was almost like she lost a little bit of her mojo. And whenever we were in session with her, she spent a lot of time not being with us, just swimming off. And I remember speaking with Ken Ramirez at a conference, and he said, they'd done this thing with the beluga at the Shed Aquarium, where the beluga was allowed to touch this buoy, which he called it, we call it a buoy, to say no. So I said, that's amazing. So I came back and immediately started to train this with Frodo. And the way that we trained it, because I think that's important also, is every time she failed at a response or did something substandard, we just asked her to touch the boy and rewarded that. So she always had a reward, whether she failed or succeeded. And the best training session, which is the one you're referring to, was the day that I asked her to do something and she said no, she touched the boy. And it was like, oh my God, we're finally talking to each other. Now you're giving me real information.
It's a breakthrough.
Yeah, I mean, it was
That's
like a
amazing.
few sessions later, I was showing one of the new trainers how to work with her. And she was in a shallow area and she asked Frodo to do something that required depth. And Frodo went, no. And I was like, check that out. She's like, showing you that you're an idiot. Isn't that cool? And what was lovely, the trainer wasn't an idiot, but what was lovely was the fact that Frodo could say, like, that's not possible here. And that was so much more than information than just the no, hey. Because now, like, how can I ask me to do that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, no can come for a variety of reasons. Maybe I'm not feeling well. maybe that's confusing and you're not asking it in the right way. And as without that option, we always just like trying to guess, So it was just so lovely that it finally became a two-way conversation.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. I've been watching some of these videos with people and the dogs and the buttons where the dogs use the buttons to communicate.
Yeah, like food, walk,
every
food.
time. Yes. Every time I listen and I watch them, and it's mind-boggling sometimes that animal is able to communicate with us, and you can see the joy almost in their face, how they react when we react in the right way that they've been looking for. It's just amazing. And I can imagine that with Frodo as well, being just like, oh, you actually knew what I was saying.
Yeah, you're engaged. Oh my God, you're finally listening, you moron. Yeah, I love it. We've got Zulu as well. Who has got a string of floats, which is also used as a toy. And not all the trainers have been doing we call it a default, that they're allowed to touch it to say no. But I often use it with her. And if I go down to go and do a session and that toy is in the area, she'll go and fetch it and bring it across. Going, okay, we're playing this game again. This is way more fun than anything. It's like, now we can talk. Yay.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But you know what's curious about it? Like, and this is me kicking myself afterwards, is like, I think it's amazing, but it actually just really demonstrates the fact that I wasn't listening before, that I needed a tool to hear her. Like the dogs need to push those buttons, but actually they're talking all the time, but we're just not sensitive enough to see it. So the tool is great, but I just think just sometimes taking stock of what do they want. If you're asking the animal to gate, for example, and it's hesitant to go through, why are you labeling it as a I don't know, what are the labels we give animals when they don't listen, like naughty or whatever.
Goodness, there are so many labels.
Yeah.
Just look at the behavior and work with that. Like they don't want to go through today, so okay, how can you make it more reinforcing? Because you're obviously the reason they don't want to go through. Yeah.
And I think it goes back to also body language. We as humans have lost our ability to read body language, and animals use body language all the time. They posture, if you look at dogs, for example, they're always using body language when they're around other dogs. We have lost the ability to understand body language like that, which can be quite frustrating at times.
Yeah, and all the species we work with, they've all got different postures, and that'll mean different things. And that's why, yes, I agree with you, Like spending time just watching, we learn so much. And that intuitiveness that we know, like, when you not just know, and I bet you every keeper that's listening just knows when the animal's not right or whatever. It's probably us picking up stuff intuitively related to body language, but we think we don't know because we haven't, like, categorically defined that posture means that or whatever, but we actually do know.
Luckily, we can develop those training tools where we can sort of get them to explain to us in some way. It still makes it a little difficult, but we get there.
100%, yeah. But just exploring their capacity to communicate that's for me. I bet for you guys as well. That's the most exciting thing about what we do. Hey.
Yeah, it is. The only thing I can relate it to, like I chatted to you, Gabby, about was doing like shape discrimination with some of the rockhopper penguins, and just how excited they would get when, they grasped the concept and they, could also communicate that, hey, I understand what you're asking of me. It's not just the joy that it comes from, getting the desired behavior that you were trying to achieve, but also you can see that little light in the animal, that they're also excited about what they're doing. And then the team's also excited about what you're doing. So it's just like, it's this spread of like happiness and positivity, which is, I always find amazing.
I always said it was the aha moment.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think that's, like we spoke earlier about it. It's not just about training, it's about enrichment and that cognitive expression, which we have removed because they're in our care. Like they would have to work stuff out naturally, that they're now having some cognitive experience. That's enrichment. Hey, like that's them working stuff out, which is, I love puzzles. Or sometimes when I get the right.
Gets to a point.
Sorry?
I said, if I'm not mistaken, you don't like that word enrichment anymore.
I hate that word enrichment. Yeah. I'll use it just because people understand it, but enrichment implies that it's a nice to have. It's not. It's essential. It's like, we've been, and I
It's
know in
needed.
lots of places,
Standard, yeah.
lots of places have been developing welfare assessments. And if we look at the natural needs, the cognitive function, just for one, okay, they should be exercising that cognitive ability. Otherwise, there's something missing, which is going to affect their entire well-being. I mean, like as human beings, if we don't feel purposeful in the world, we probably suffer from depression. I think it's the same with these animals. If they don't have a purpose and something, I mean, I pick up the treat jar in the evening to do a training session with my old dog, and she like hops to it, and it's not about the food. I mean, she's a chubby little thing, but it's just now we're playing this game. Like, it's just so cool.
Yeah, it's about them living in the moment and wanting to do something. And for our animals in captivity in our facilities, their environments, their enclosures that they live in need to be enriching in general. There needs to be something there that enriches them. If it's a natural sort of enrichment or it's something that we place there regularly, and just to change things up, move things around, sense, all of that is enrichment, but it's got to be a regular thing. It can't be, oh, this week I'm going to put one thing in today and that's my enrichment done, ticked, signed off.
Absolutely. And for so many reasons, like neophobia, when they're afraid of new things because they only get the couch and the remote control. That's not serving them. Then they become insular and isolated, and then the vet arrives in the white coat and all hell breaks loose. So that's one reason.
You have to have a well-rounded animal with a lot of experiences, a lot of open experiences. I mean, we can go and talk about police horses being exposed to so much, because when they are in the field and working, there are so many variables that could happen around them. So they get trained and exposed to as many variables as they possibly can, and still there are some that they can't foresee that might happen. I remember when I was working on a mounted unit at Johannesburg Zoo right in the beginning of my career, we were patrolling Zoo Lake on horseback, and I mean our horses were pretty much, we could call bomb proof, but a kid with training wheels on his bicycle came up behind one of the horses, and that sound we did not think would have that reaction, but it did. My horse reared, my partner's horse reared, we both fell off, and it was just a situation where we had two horses running towards the main road, and it's just because of a training wheel. And it was just crazy to experience that, but knowing that as much as you can expose animals to everything you possibly can and make them bomb proof, to say, but there are always things that could come up.
I didn't know you were part of the monster units. That's really cool. I had some time with the horses in Potch where they were breeding them. Yeah, it was really fascinating and such a big learning experience, because we went there to go and teach them to give the horses some control. Like bomb proof in the horse industry is very often like the horse must behave no matter what.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, so allowing the horse to communicate, okay, that's making me feel a bit anxious, and giving them an out.
Yeah.
At that point in time is still, I think, in many horse places a little bit foreign.
Yeah, it's not accepted in such a way. No, the horse must deal with it. I know my horse at one stage that I was using quite regularly, still, no matter how many times he was exposed to it, if we ever did a patrol inside the zoo has a lot of chickens running around, and if a chicken decided to walk out of the bush, that was the end of the world.
Yeah. Goodness. Obviously had some trauma associated with chickens. I understand. We had
Somewhere there.
a chicken that was given to me by a friend from the bird park down here, a rooster, and he was vicious. Yeah.
You'll probably find one of the roosters came running out of the bush and attacked the horse at some stage.
Birds, chickens can be violent and also seriously smart. Yeah, their well-being is also important.
Yeah.
Just speak about in terms of enrichment, something that in the development of our welfare assessment we've been focusing on, which I think has got relevance to the whole choice and control and providing the best scenario ever, is the movement that an animal would naturally express. So if you think about the chewing motion, for example, and how that would build something, and if you're not feeding the right diets, then they're not getting to chew, which is going to have an impact on their whole body. Like just little things like that are so.
It's so important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So I mean,
It's like
for
a chain
example,
reaction.
no, we feed the dolphins mainly on the surface. We're now trying to look at enrichment opportunities where they will be able to be in control of some food underneath the water, because that's where they would naturally be eating. So it's just small, like that's the mobility that's required, them hunting under the water.
Wow.
So what's
That's
missing?
crazy because I didn't even think about that. That is really, really crazy because that's important. They would use their bodies in a different way under the water, and they would use their mouths in a different way to manipulate the food. Whereas on the surface, it's sort of got no, well, underwater, it's almost weightless, and on surface, it's got weight. So how do they change their manipulation of their
Yeah,
mouth to get the food to go down?
exactly. So I mean, there's so many examples of that type of things where they're so adaptable. They've adapted well. But can we offer some opportunities where they just do something slightly differently? Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, it also changes the way they use, for example, I can go to my experiences with birds of prey. If you give them whole body food to rip at, they're using their talons, they're using their beak, and they're also wearing down their beak on the bone. So if you're giving them something that's got a lot of bone in it and hard bone, not just soft bone, they wear down their beak and you don't have to spend your time coping them. And, they're using certain muscles by standing on the food and ripping at it and pulling at it instead of just taking it out of your finger or taking it off a tray.
And this kind of lends
Yeah,
itself at some level to the whole control and choice thing, because they're able to exercise their natural history, which is giving them control over their bodies, and etc. That's a bit of a rabbit hole, but yes.
It throws us down another rabbit hole, which includes enrichment right there as well. So we'll just kind of come back.
About those birds of prey and the rabbits.
I think I also mentioned to Gabby, like we've seen the same with the fish at the aquarium, because so often when you walk past the exhibits, all the fish are gathering at the surface, and it's because that's where their food always comes from. We dive feed with the stingrays, but for the fish, they always get food thrown in from the top. So automatically they spend most of their day actually at the surface. And we've also started trying to change that by, having attachment points in the exhibit where we can tie like lettuce and broccoli that they can graze on throughout the day. And it's amazing to see when that food is actually tied onto like the set feeding stations, how different the exhibit looks from the front, because the animals are just using so much more of the exhibit space rather than just that upper water column, because they're waiting for the surface feed that's going to come from the platform.
And now if you look at that example, which is so classic and amazing, is how much has that affected their behavior and their ability to, you'll probably find there's territoriality over the surface and all sorts of other things, like
Yes,
the need for the depth and the on their bodies. There's so many things I think it could affect. The way that they metabolize even might be affected by the depth. Yeah, it's so curious.
Definitely, yeah. There's so much we need to investigate.
Yeah, that's what we were saying at the beginning. Yeah, it's like this is a progressive industry, and it's just so exciting. And it always, Ryan, your experience with horses, and I'm sure we've all got dogs. Just taking it back home. The well-being of our animals at home, to educate my family without, just the fact that the dog doesn't have to be shouted at in order to participate. Just talk to them. Like if they're on the bed and you don't want them, they ask them to come. You don't have to shout.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that big time. Having family and friends and trying to explain to them, this, you got to understand the animal to allow it to come to you or whatever, and you don't have to shoo it away or knee it in the chest or things like that just to get it
Scuff it and
to
make it
move
go
away.
down so it submits.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So and the other thing that also, it's the when they do the oopsies in the house where they urinate or defecate in the house, and it's long past the situation, and everybody's like, "Oh, I have to grab the dog and take it there and show
Right,
it,"
they don't do it.
and I'm like, the animal has no idea. It cannot link the two
Yeah.
to when the behavior happened to now 20 minutes later that you
It's
found
like, what are
it.
you asking of me?
Yeah, no, we very are. But that whole concept of how to look after dogs is, in my theoretical up and down another rabbit hole, is based on like a system where we've been taught obey or else. So that's almost how we've been raised. And then we bring ourselves to these situations where you're in front of an animal in a training session, about to go into a presentation or whatever, and the animal's not behaving. So you look like an idiot, apparently, because your whole ego is attached to them, like
Yes.
obeying.
Yeah.
And then it just goes south from there. Like if we could just have a sense of humor and go, check, I'm seriously not able to hear what this animal's saying right now. I mean, like, let's communicate differently so that we can change our life, basically. If you can communicate in a two-way way, like both ways, hearing and listening, and then trying to get to where you want to go together, that's real life. That's community. That's being with the animal. Isn't that why we started these jobs? Yeah.
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 100%.
I wanted to just speak a little bit about choice and control as the definitions. So control obviously being anything where the animal has agency. And that's not only, so if the animal is able to control its environment or have some agency and relationship with you, that's about control. Remembering too that too much, okay, then we go to choice. And choice in our mind, based on the default, etc., is the animal always has an equal opportunity to be reinforced, even if it's not compliant in the behavior you're asking for from it. And when I have choice, I have control, which, as we said, is fundamental and more important than food. If you look at like the hierarchy of needs, if I don't feel I have got control, I don't feel safe, because you've taken my control away.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to that kind of hostage scenario where you'll get the dogs that must obey, but they don't know how to be in relationship with the world unless they are beholden. So it's almost like that hostage thing. So they've given up their power, which is not good for their well-being or their full experience of life. So yeah,
Definitely.
I think
Yeah.
that's just important to remember. So if I have choices, I have control, but it's not the only control that's possible. Control is agency in the world.
I think that's also really important to define, and just because I think sometimes when you speak about control for, even sometimes, like I find with my colleagues, they don't fully understand what is meant by control if you trying to give an animal choice or control in a situation. So it's important to understand those terms so that you can also apply them, because otherwise it all gets jumbled up.
Yeah, apply them and recognize where we're not applying them, and try and rectify it. Yeah, so amazing. But like I think that with most animals in our care, they're always just wanting to participate in a way that is stimulating, etc. And I think we're far too quick to judge them rather than just step back and look. We had a session this morning where the dolphin was really participating beautifully, and then she swam off to the gate, and it looked as though she had swum off, but she actually didn't, because if you looked at the trainer, they gave a cue that was a little bit confusing, that looked as though they were pointing her to the gate. But immediately the judgment was, so it's just stop. What actually happened? Oh, how cool is that? She's so good that she listens to everything and anticipates your every need.
Sure.
Yeah, and making sure that our communication is clear and precise too sometimes can help.
Yes.
Because sometimes we might be thinking of something else, what we're going to have for dinner, and we're halfway through a training session and we're just sort of just going through the motions, and it confuses the animal. So not getting upset with it and saying, why did you go to the gate when I didn't tell you to? Well, actually, if you look back at yourself, you kind of did point to the gate.
Absolutely. Isn't that amazing? It's like, how can you be taught to be conscious to work with animals? Because they'll show you when you're not. That you're prepared.
Exactly.
Another thing that I also think always comes up for me is also, how you have to actually break down behavior into steps. because I think often from a human perspective, I know with some of my colleagues, they want a desired behavior to happen. And then I always have to just remind them, like, did you run and then you started walking? Or did you start walking first and then you started running? And just understanding the steps and also meeting that animal where it is in that moment is also always special. Yeah.
Absolutely. And to meet them where they're at, you've got to recognize where they're at.
You know, I'm just thinking, Ayrton, going back to, I think it was our first, well, I think it was my interview review in the episode 11. We had chatted about the rays that came from Ushaka, and I guess this is a good opportunity to ask the question that we may have chatted about, because it'd be interesting to know if they were at all exposed to any sort of training before coming to Oceans.
So I'm not sure, but I can put you in touch with a really good person down there to interview next time.
Okay. That sounds good.
There's some really great stuff happening down in that crew. Yeah. They showed a lovely video yesterday of one of the divers trying to spill to the sand, and one of the little sharks just kept on getting in the way because he wanted the sand to spill onto his head.
Oh, cute.
I know you've got a million stories like that, Ayrton, but I just absolutely love the fact that these animals are just engaged in the world. If we just stop and smell the roses, and you'll have the most amazing experience.
No, indeed. All the things they can teach us, it's amazing.
But one thing, just on those rays, I mean, like, as I say, I don't have the facts. They would have experienced a whole bunch of stuff. We're talking about the extent of your experience in the move to Cape Town, etc., which would have built them to some level. So just having that. I know when we moved from our old facility to this facility with the seals, we prepared so much for it. Like, we actually had a whole bunch of furniture that we brought with us because we didn't want them to feel like they were in a completely foreign space, etc. But when we moved here, like the first couple of weeks, there was so much exploring happening that we made huge progress with our training, because they were almost like in an excited phase. It's like they were on holiday, because everything
open
was
to learn, I think, is just crazy. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that also might have been part of what was going on there as well.
That makes a lot of sense now when you explain it like that.
Edson, how soon after they arrived did you start that training with them?
We started it pretty much immediately.
Yeah, then it could be that. Wow, that's amazing. It's actually so cool to hear that they were open to training more because they were experiencing more. And that goes back again to enrichment. If they're experiencing more in their environment, they'll be more open to training sessions and learning more out of those training sessions. That's amazing.
I can't remember who wrote something on that. They actually spoke about engaged enrichment, so playing with animals before a session. And they said that the quality of the session, if they did that engagement before, was way better.
Yeah.
So, like, if you start that stimulation process and engaging, like, not for food, we're just playing now, and then we have a training session afterwards, engagement improves. So I just think, 100%, like that stimulation is just so required.
Well, Gabby, if you can remember who that was, please let us know, and we'd love to
I'll do a search,
have that person potentially on to chat about that, because that's really interesting.
Cool, I'll have a search. Good.
I don't know if there's anything maybe we want to also just chat about in terms of choice and control for your pets at home, and maybe we can give some examples for especially people who do have pets. How do they start by providing choice and control for their pets at home? I thought maybe that'd be a nice last quick topic to talk about.
Yeah, 100%. So the well-being of your animals at home, yes, it's so essential. I think, like I've mentioned already, just before we judge, like the immediate thing with the way that we've all been conditioned that the animal must obey in terms of dogs, just before you judge, just look at the motivation. What is the function of the behavior that the animal is demonstrating right now? If they're barking at the gate, what is the function? Go and have a look and see if there's a problem there. If it's incessant and it's become a problem, maybe there's a reason for that, because they're not getting enough stimulation elsewhere. So I think every situation is different. In terms of choices, I mean, just noticing what they want and looking at how you can extend that. So they like to lie in the sun. Okay, so let's not just give one bed in the sun. Let's give a couple and see if that choice changes, because otherwise they might become territorial of that. And just every situation is different. In training, we've done some incredible default stuff with dogs. It's just been magical. Where we, for example, we'll use a mat as the boy. So the dog always returns to the mat if it doesn't know what you want, which is just cool information.
Okay.
So, and that
Wow.
you can train so fast in one session, because you just, like we did with the boy, you just teach the mat, stay on the mat, and then off the mat, and you go back onto the mat. And they'll do this, you don't want to do it, and they go back to the mat so fast. It's just insanely amazing.
Sure.
And that gives you so much more to work with.
Absolutely.
It gives you information.
Your approximation is too big. That's too big a
Yeah.
step. Or I'm not comfortable doing that. I remember with my one dog, like being the hotshot trainer I am, she had to have she was spayed, and I wanted to train her in that week after she was spayed to calmly let the vet take the stitches off. In the first session, it's obviously still sensitive. We did the mat stuff, and she kept on going back to the mat because I was obviously hurting her, or it was too sensitive. But I didn't listen. So eventually she loves the training. She went back and sat under the table far away from the mat, but she was still engaged, still looking at me. And that information for me was, I want to participate, but you haven't listened. I've gone back to the mat 4 times, and you're not listening. You keep on touching me.
Sure.
So, but she still wanted the training session, and actually what I did was like laugh at myself, reward her, and move on, just going gentler.
Yeah.
And in fact, the story gets even funnier because I was working with a young man who is very intuitive about animals. His name is Sipo, and he's just amazing. And right at the beginning, he said to me, she loves putting her front legs on your shoulders. Just let her do that, and then the vet can do this. And I went, no, she was just like calmly, like, I've got this behavior stuff, I know what I'm doing. when we took her to the vet, who was a real cool vet, I loved him because I used to use him because he would allow me to go in with my dogs. He said, no, just let her put her paws on your shoulder, and I'll But my ego was so in the way. I was like trying to prove myself to that.
No, I have trained this behavior now, and it will happen this way.
I am the boss.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, as trainers, we do have a lot of ego, but sometimes we can give our egos a check, and then we just laugh at ourselves for it sometimes.
Yeah.
Thank God. Yeah. If you don't have a sense of humor, don't do it.
This is not the industry for you.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. It goes back to the last podcast we did. Wow. Keeps resorting back.
I just wanted to congratulate the two of you for what you're doing, bringing out information to this industry, which is it's just such an exciting industry, and as you said, if we can keep sharing information and being progressive and learn from each other, I've had my decade of needing to be right. Now I look much more often at ways that I am failing so that I can improve, because that's way more exciting. So thank you very much to both of you for getting together and making this happen, and straight to you.
Oh, thank you very much, Gabby. That means a lot to us. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for being with us on the show and bringing all your amazing knowledge and lots of laughs to this podcast episode.
I think the thing that I'm just thinking is I think we have to have Gabby on again at some point, because there's so many topics we can talk about.
100%, I agree.
But yeah, thank you for being part of this, and thank you for finding the time to chat to us. And yeah, thank you for just all the inspiration. I think, I'm sure you've inspired Ryan, you've inspired me, and there's so many other people out there that I know you've inspired. So you really mean a lot to us.
But back at you, because without people that are passionate about this industry, it's a terrible place to be. I mean, you don't want to be working with people that are just doing this for a job, and you two are not doing this for a job. You're doing this to be a mermaid and a merman. You're doing this to be a merman and an incredible birdman, and I'm like, those are difficult things to do. So hats off.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Wow, thank you so much, Gabby. And also something really exciting is that there is a new association that has come up. It is the South African Animal Keepers Association, also known as SAKA, and it's very exciting.
It's really exciting for, us keepers, because I feel like its main goal is just to get everybody connected. And I mean, that's what we're trying to do with the podcast. And what's even more exciting is both Ryan and myself are now part of the SAKA committee, which is really, really exciting.
Woo-hoo!
Yay! So
yeah, we're really glad to be on that committee and honoured to be chosen to be on that committee to assist and help keepers and use our platform as well to allow people to have a voice and talk about some things and some tasks or challenges that may occur as being a keeper or an animal care specialist.
Yeah, so I think especially for all the keepers out there, if you do want to be part of SACA, there is a website. So go have a look at it. It's also on the socials. It's on LinkedIn. It's on Instagram, Facebook. But even if you want to contact Ryan and myself, and you want to know more, reach out to us. You can reach out to us through the podcast, and then we can put you in touch with the right channels.
Yeah, 100%. And also part of this podcast at the bottom, if you're listening to it on Spotify or YouTube or any of the other platforms, we'll put the details down there for SACA. And please feel free to go in there and have a look. Keep in contact and let us know how you guys feel about our podcast. Also, we can chat about SACA. You can email us. We're happy to do that. Yeah, be a part of this podcast. Let us know if you've got any topics that you want to share with us. We'll go from there. So remember, the way you can contact us is through email address, which is animal.talk201@gmail.com. Or you can contact us on any of our social media platforms. You can also contact us, communicate with us via any of the comments on any of our podcasts. We'll be happy to chat with you there. Let us know your thoughts. And of course, remember, animals are our passion.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And remember that our quality of care is their quality of life. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Bye, Gabby.
Can we just pause quickly? Ayrton, did you receive a call?
Yeah, I did. Sorry, I don't know why I didn't block it.
Yeah, all it does.
Did it come through
says
to you?
No, can you imagine? I answered your call and be like, "Hi, how are you?"